Hey guys, Weiss here. Welcome to another video. If you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button. You're gonna want to subscribe because I've got a great new series where other content creators come onto my channel and talk about their favorite game of all time. This is installment number 3 and I'm having a blast doing this. And I like watching this as much as you guys because it's other people talking about their favorite game of all time. And I've found this fascinating so far. I've got 5 more content creators for you guys today. Awesome content creators, friends of mine, and really creative people. You guys are gonna love this video. But very briefly, now these content creators are talking about their favorite game of all time. And I love this kind of stuff. You know, and if you guys like, you know, the 10 greatest games of all time, or the top blah blah blah, 100 greatest this, 1,000 games you must play before you die, top 10 RPGs of all time, whatever. If you're into top 10 lists, top 100 lists, I think you guys are gonna really like my 100 Greatest Console Video Games book, 1977 to 1987. What a phenomenal decade. The introduction of the Atari 2600, or the Atari VCS as it was known, first few years, up to the first few years of the Nintendo NES, the console that changed everything. All right, guys, you can check out this book. I will provide a link. And this is full color throughout. Look at that, Bally Astrocade. I definitely dive deep. You guys are gonna really enjoy this book. I believe it's alphabetical by game as opposed to in order of greatness, because I wanted every game to get the full, you know, Vectrex, check it out. I wanted every game to be taken individually and not ranked, you know, within the book. So every game gets the respect it deserves. So I'll provide a link where you can buy signed copies direct from me. All right, guys, so today we've got Arcade USA talking about his favorite game of all time. That's Willie, to you guys that know him. Smash JT, he's got a really interesting channel where he talks about a lot of controversial topics. We've got the director of Playing with Power, the recent Nintendo documentary on Crackle, which I am in. You guys should definitely check that out. We've got a couple of other content creators, a couple of surprises for you guys that I think you're really gonna enjoy. This is the first episode I've done that is more than just YouTubers. We've got an author and a filmmaker. All right, guys, so thank you for watching, and I will see you on the other side of this. Welcome 5 awesome content creators. They're gonna share with you guys their favorite game of all time.
Hey guys, this is Zap and you're watching ZapCristal, where we talk about all things gaming and 90s nostalgia. Thank you so much, Brett, for having me. And in this video, we're going to discuss my favorite games of all time and why. So let's start off with the oldies. Let's start off with the retro games. My favorite retro game is Miss Pac-Man for the SNES. Now, the reason why I enjoy this game is for the female representation and inclusion. Now, remember, back in the day, gaming was only considered for males, so men and boys. It was considered a toy. So having a game that would have female representation and inclusion and now would be targeted to the female audience meant so much. I remember my dad bringing this game for me to play, and that is where my passion spiked for gaming, especially because I felt like I had a character that I can connect with. Other characters that I connected with was obviously Peach, Birdo, and so much more. So yeah, Miss Pac-Man is the one to go. Now, when it comes to modern gaming, if you are into modern gaming, this is considered a mid-tier game. It is not considered a AAA or an indie game because it is published by Bandai Namco and it has been developed by Tarsiel Studios. Now, if you don't know what Little Nightmares is kind of like, I would say it's kind of like inspired as Tim Burton because it is creepy enough to keep you on the edge of your seat, but it is not too graphical. So you're not going to encounter gory type of content or blood or anything such as that. It is very interesting and so much, it's so good. It is really good. It is so good. It has an interesting story, and I think that the reason why I love this game is mainly for its gameplay mechanics, because my God, it is mind-blowing everything you can do in this game. So if you're looking for a modern game, to play, definitely check out the Little Nightmares series. It is available on all platforms, but the one I'm currently playing is available for the Nintendo Switch. So thank you, Brett, for having me once again, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.
What's going on, Brett? Thank you so much for allowing me on your channel to answer such a fantastic question. I am Smash JT, for those of you not familiar, and I love Chrono Trigger. Now, this game, I'm sure everyone is already familiar with it, but it's funny, the more I live, the older I get, the more people that just come into existence that have either never played Chrono Trigger or, even worse, never heard of it. Chrono Trigger was one of those games that way back in the day, I remember being a kid getting the Nintendo Power and seeing how they were building this up. The pictures, the drawings, the cartoons, the animations, the storyline, Magus, the robot, Chrono, the turns the game took. Like, it was one of those experiences that I will remember forever. And it's funny too, because for the longest time, I thought Secret of Mana would be my favorite game ever. But as I look back and as I get older, I think back, yeah, Secret of Mana was a great experience. Tons of nostalgia for that game. But when I look back at my favorite experiences, they mostly point to Chrono Trigger, which builds a lot on what Secret of Mana did. It also builds a lot on the Final Fantasy series. It combined a ton of elements from fantastic Square Enix games, well, Squaresoft back in the day, that just, it was perfection. One of those games that had extreme hype going into it and somehow lived up to them. Now, as far as Chrono Trigger is concerned now, I haven't played it for a while, and that's on purpose because I've played it so many times. I believe I got every single ending in the game, which there were over 20 endings, if I remember correctly. And I remember playing through the game to death, putting Game Genie in it, putting the codes in, walk through walls, experiencing the game in whole different ways that developers never intended you to. And I feel like I had my fill with the game. And I want to play it again with my kids eventually. And I don't want to be completely sick of it. So I'm giving it time. I'm giving it space before I actually return back to the game. But yeah, Chrono Trigger is my favorite game, not just for the game itself, but for the nostalgia I have looking back at turning those pages in Nintendo Power months before the game released, how excited I was about it and how great it actually was, how it lived up to the expectations. And then after the game, and even throughout playing the game, drawing pictures of the characters, creating my own video game on a notepad based off of Chrono Trigger. Like things that, I mean, I look back at it, it's kind of silly now, but I'm like, I was so engrossed in that experience. It's something that I wish every single human being could experience the feeling of at least once in their life to know what true happiness is. That's Chrono Trigger. That's my favorite game. Thanks so much again for having me on, Brett, and you stay smashing.
Recently I heard from Mr. Brett Weiss, author and fellow YouTuber, asked me a question. He goes, Willie, what is your all-time favorite video game? Well, I had a hard time choosing because, there's a lot of systems that I like, early ones I grew up with. They all have games I really enjoy playing on them. So it's kind of hard to narrow it down just to a single game to cover everything. I decided to make it easier on myself and just stick with arcade games, because I love full-size arcade games in the arcade. Now, I spent a lot of time in the arcade back when I was younger. I was lucky enough to grow up in the era of the classic arcades, you know, from the mid-70s up to the mid-80s. I was at the right age at the right time as my teenage years all through there. And I enjoyed going to the arcade a lot with my friends. We'd play all different types of games like Q*bert, Burger Time, Miss Pac-Man, Pac-Man, Space Invaders, the whole line of games. And luckily I was able to help out every once in a while at a local arcade in the mall. My dad would go down there to help the owner fix different machines. And I would go along with them, and I would learn how to repair electronics and learn how to repair these machines and get a chance to play some before everybody else did, because my dad would go down there when they were closed. So if they got a new game in, I'd be able to actually help set it up and give it a try. It was really awesome. But anyway, what is my all-time favorite arcade video game? And I'll probably have to say Star Wars Arcade, the original vector graphics game. I love that game to death. I had one years ago that I had to sell because I wasn't able to bring it with me when I moved from Indiana. And I really enjoyed playing that game. It's a lot of fun. It required a lot of maintenance because the vector monitor was prone to break down in that crazy thing constantly. It seems like it was replacing capacitors and stuff like that to keep that thing running. But it was a effort of joy because I love the game so much. I maintained it. A couple years ago, my wife got me this one from Arcade 1-Up when they came out, and I was thrilled to death. Now, it's not like the original. It doesn't have a vector graphics monitor or anything like that, but it looks like the original arcade machine, just as a smaller size. It has the controls, which are really, really nice for the Arcade 1-Up stuff. Now, I do have an upgrade yoke for this that Glenn from Glenn's Retro Show sent me, and I want to upgrade mine to his yoke, which is a much better yoke. It doesn't have the Atari sticker in the middle, so I'm looking for the graphics from the original Atari yoke to put on his to give that little Atari symbol, 'cause I kind of like that Atari symbol being in the middle of it. Anyway, I'm rambling. But it's such a great game, and you know, it has the digitized sound effects, it has the crisp vector graphics. I like how, you know, Darth Vader talks every once in a while. "I'll have you know, that kind of stuff. Or Obi-Wan, use the Force as you're going down the trench. It's a really great game. I think Atari hit it out of the park when they brought that game out in the arcade. I know it was very popular. It was really hard to get playtime on that machine when it first came out. You know, back then, the way you would reserve the next play on the game is you put your quarter up on the corner of the screen or something, or a token, to let people know you were reserving the next game. This thing had tokens lined up all across the bottom of the screen from so many people trying to reserve games. Such a great game. I can't play it very well, but I do enjoy it. And it is one of those games I really enjoy playing in the arcade. Whenever I run across it, I'll drop a quarter in or a token. I'll give it a few plays. Still enjoy playing the game to this day. I think my favorite version of the game to play, though, is the one in the sit-down cockpit version. That is a great way to experience this game, especially if they got the bass turned up on it. That is incredible. It's a really cool way to play the game in an environmental cab. I think the last time I saw one of those was at the arcade over in Missouri. I think it's in Missouri. It's called the 1984 arcade. They got the environmental cab setting up towards the front of the arcade there. It's the last time I remember seeing one. I need to get back there sometime because I never did do a video on 1984. I don't know why I didn't. I was out there on business and I stopped by and I didn't make a video. I don't know why I didn't. One of those things. So, yeah. Anyway, thanks, Brett, for the really cool question. I had a lot of fun, talking about it. And until next time, everyone, thanks for watching.
Howdy gamers, Patrick Hickey Jr. here, author of The Minds Behind the Games book series. My favorite game. This is so hard. It's like picking a child. Like your favorite child. How is that even possible? If you guys see around me, got a lot of games. Got over 3,000 games on 30 consoles. I've written 4 books on gaming. More on the way. Picking my favorite game. All right, I'm just gonna do it. I'm just gonna do it. Fallout 3. Why? Because I've never been a fan of first-person games, and I fell in love with this game. I was more of a sports gamer and adventure gamer, and I fell in love with first-person shooters through this. I fell in love with first-person exploration, first-person crafting, RPGs. I love the story. I love the voice acting. It's probably one of the first games that like I beat and then proceeded to download every DLC and beat every single DLC. Also an important game because I got this game my first year teaching. I've been a college professor for 15 years, and I would come home after a long day, and they always say the first year teaching is the hardest because you're trying everything for the first time. So I would come home, I'd explore the wasteland, kill some ghouls, and I'd feel better about myself. So, favorite game of all time, I mean, it's super hard, but if I had to pick just one, it's Fallout 3. Getting the opportunity to interview the people that basically, you know, led the way to Fallout 3, like Wasteland, a game like Wasteland, super important. That's in my first book. So like the fact that I've been able to not only love this game, appreciate this game, but then interview the people that made the first one in the series possible, super special to me. If you've never played Fallout 3, you simply must. It's fantastic.
Hey everybody, Jeremy Snead here. So I'm going to cheat a little bit because my favorite video game, number one, it always evolves. So my answer to this question changes, but right now I would say it's a toss-up between Sonic the Hedgehog 2 and The Last of Us. I know that's a big gap between those. I've played games my whole life. But I think with Sonic 2, it was a world, a familiar world that I knew from playing the first game, but just kind of dialed up to an 11. And it was the first game that I had sort of my system to myself. So, you know, I had siblings, and we always had to share, you know, with the Nintendo, Super Nintendo, and with the Genesis, for whatever reason, I think my siblings just kind of had other things going on, and so I had it all to myself. And then my, you know, the split to that being The Last of Us is, I say that's a favorite just because I had never experienced a narrative video game like that before, and didn't really know that was possible to do that on console. So I could go on and on about why I love The Last of Us and why I think it was groundbreaking, but as the ultimate in variety, I would say my favorite right now, and this will change depending on who asks me and when, is Sonic the Hedgehog 2 on the Sega Genesis and The Last of Us Part 1.
And now for something completely different. Let's get a move on.
All right, guys, what do you think? What is your favorite game? I want you guys to tell me in the comments. What is your favorite game among the 5 that the people mentioned here? Actually, they mentioned 6. Crystal, you cheated a little bit, but that's okay. I love you. That's awesome. Favorite old game, favorite new game. That's awesome. All right, so let me know what's your favorite of the 6 games that were mentioned. And what is your favorite game of all time? I would love to hear from you. So thank you guys for watching. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. If you didn't know, if you've watched the channel for a while, you probably know that Mr. Do is my favorite game of all time. Probably always will be. Anyway, thanks for watching. Thank you for subscribing. And again, check out the 100 Greatest Console Video Games. You guys will love this book. Link in the description. All right, we'll talk to you later in another video. And I have got some really cool content creators lined up for future episodes. And I've got a really special one lined up that I'm still working out the deals with. You guys are going to love it. We will talk to you later.